Hey guys, Mark here, and in front of me I have an awesome pair of earbuds. These were widely requested on the channel, and finally I have my hands on them. These are possibly also the worst named earbuds in the world. These are the Sony WF-1000XM3s, and they're only rivaled in bad naming convention by their bigger brothers, the Sony WH-1000XM3s, which I've done plenty of videos on in the past. But you know what? Naming isn't everything. Let's jump in and find out exactly what these earbuds can do. So inside the box, the first thing you're going to see is this neat little carrying / charging case. And this is how most wireless earbuds are made these days. Once you flip up the nice little Sony logo there, you've got two earbuds. Now these are currently charging. You can see by the red lights on each side of the earbuds, as well as the charging indicator here on the front right next to the NFC logo. So Sony is actually claiming, it's right here on the box, a total of 6 hours of battery life from the earbuds themselves. And then inside the charging case, once you put them back into the charging case to charge, you're getting an additional 18 hours from the case itself. So the way this works is once your earbuds are getting low on battery, what you do is you put them inside the charging case and then close the lid. And then that charging indicator right on front here is going to turn on, and that tells you that your earbuds are charging. Of course, the case itself is also a battery, so that too runs dead in, like I said, about 18 hours. So once that runs dead, it has a USB-C connector right here to charge up your case. So you charge the case, which in turn charges the earbuds. The case is a little bulky, but it's not nearly as bulky as the Powerbeats Pro case. Now they look kind of similar side to side, but when you can really tell is when you flip them up like that. Where this is sort of a square and this is a rectangle, there's not too much difference there in dimensions. However, when you flip it up like that, you can clearly see that the Powerbeats Pro case is much thicker or much higher. And the issue with that is once you put it in your pocket, it's gonna stick out like a really sore thumb or something else. The way the earbuds go into their case is actually quite intuitive. They're held in by a lot of magnets, and it's very simple to just take your bud and just drop it in there. It snaps in very nicely, and you can just take it out like that. The way it charges is there's 3 little pins right here that line up with the 3 little pins right here, and I've never had trouble actually making those pins make contact. Every time the earbud goes into its case, it has absolutely no trouble charging. So on both sides of these earbuds, you actually have a circular touch control. That's what these little circles are on both sides. And those act as your media controls as well as your sound mode control. The left one by default controls the sound mode, and the right one by default controls your media playback. So if you want to pause your music, 1 tap. If you want to play again, 1 tap. Quite simple. By the way, it'll also chime in your ears depending on which one you hit and what you're doing. So if I pause my music, for example, you'll hear a little bleep. And if you play your music, you'll hear a little bleep, which is nice because it gives you some feedback telling you that, yes, you actually did hit the touchpad. So that's cool. You can also accept calls by double tapping, and you can activate Siri or Google Assistant by just pressing and holding for a few seconds. So I think the number one thing that you guys are going to be interested in when talking about these earphones is the active noise cancellation feature. Now, there's actually 3 different sound modes built into these earphones, just like the bigger brother, the WH-1000XM3s. And the way that works is, as soon as you put in your earphones, you can choose between 3 modes, which are toggleable with, toggleable? Is that a word? Toggle? Anyway, I'm using it, which you can toggle by hitting the touchpad on the left earbud by default. Anyway, you can actually set that up via the app, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But if you tap on this once, you're actually going to hear a chime that will say noise canceling. It'll say actually 1 of 3 things. It'll say noise canceling first, and then it'll go into ambient sound mode, and then it'll go into ambient sound mode off. And those are the 3 different sound profiles. So the first one, noise canceling, is going to almost sound like you are being sucked into a vacuum. Most of the sound around you gets sucked away, which is a really cool feeling. When you first put them in, it's like, oh wow, I can barely hear anything, which is really cool. It's not going to cancel out everything though. It does less of a good job with human voices and things that change in pitch very, very quickly. However, more static sounds like airplane noise, car noise, you know, if you're in a train, you're in a bustling area, that sort of thing with vehicles passing by, that it will do a very, very good job with. The next sound mode is ambient sound mode, and this is actually also a really cool mode. And basically what that's going to do is the opposite of noise canceling. It's going to use the microphones built in to take in sound from all around you and then shoot it into your ears. It sort of sounds like you're not wearing earbuds. I mean, you can obviously tell because they're in your earbuds, and you do sound a little bit plugged up, but it sounds a lot better than if you just, say, stuck these in your ears and they were off. which is really good for if you don't want to take them out and you want to talk to someone, or you're making a phone call or something like that. You'll be able to hear yourself, and it's much, much easier to speak or to hear someone else that's, you know, obviously wanting to talk to you. So that's pretty cool as well. The third mode is actually not really a mode, it's kind of just turning the other two modes off. You're not in noise canceling mode, so it's not canceling out the sound around you, and you're not in ambient sound mode, so it's not taking in the sound from all around you. So I don't use the third sound mode all that often, but it is nice to have it there just in case you don't want to use the other two modes. Now, from a comfort standpoint, these things are actually quite good. They feel very comfortable in the ears, despite the fact that they do look a little chunky, a little on the chunky side, but they're actually quite comfortable. Depending on which tips you use. Now for me personally, there was only one tip that actually fit my ears properly and made a good seal, and that was the biggest tip they had, the biggest, chunkiest tip that they possibly could make. And it's almost the size of the actual stem here, and that's what fit in my ears personally. The different tips are quite cool. There's foam tips and silicone tips, and the silicone tips I find are a little less comfortable, but they make a better seal, and they have a much harder time coming out of your ears than the foam tips. Now the foam tips are very comfortable in comparison, but I find they slip out of my ears quite easily. Now that might be due to the shape, and it might be due to the material, I'm not sure exactly, but I do like the feel of the foam tips more, but I like the security of the silicone tips more. Just another little note on comfort. While these are comfortable, I wouldn't necessarily call them the best earbuds for athletes. And the reason I say that is actually for a couple of different reasons. One, they don't have ear hooks, which means they're by default a lot less secure in your ears. I don't find them to be terrible in terms of, you know, them staying in my ears. If I just put these in, if I kind of shake my head, they don't feel like they're gonna fly out or anything. They don't feel like they're gonna go and fly out of my ears, which is a good thing. They make a good seal. Despite that fact, they're still not great for running or doing any kind of really intense exercising, because I find that the earphones actually sort of wiggle around your ears. You see how big this you know, outer part is here. The weight of it actually bobs up and down when you're running, and you can actually hear that come through to your music, and it's very annoying when you're running. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend these for athletes. For that, I'd actually recommend the Powerbeats Pro for a couple of reasons. Like I said, the outer portion of this is much smaller, and the ear hooks make it so that these are never coming out of your ears, and they don't move around at all either, which is great. These earbuds do sound really good though. They have a very similar sound signature to the WH-1000XM3s, which is a very good thing. Overall, I found that these headphones have a very flat sound. There's not too much low end, there's not too much high end, and the mids are quite good as well. And that's what I found with these earbuds. However, I found that once you turn on the noise canceling, you do lose a little bit of that high end. Don't get me wrong, it's not terrible by any means, and even with the noise canceling on, it still sounds heaps better than a lot of other wireless earbuds that I've tried in the past, but you do lose a little bit of that high end, so just keep that in mind. And that finally brings us to the price. Now, these earbuds are not cheap. They come in at about 300 bucks, which is not a lot less than the WH-1000XM3s are. And these are at, I believe these are at 350, but they are getting cheaper. You can find them now on Amazon. They've gone a few times actually for around 280. So these can be had for cheaper than these. And in my personal opinion, depending on who you are, there's a couple of different scenarios in which you would buy these over these, but in my personal opinion, if I had to pick one of these, either the WH-1000XM3s or the WF-1000XM3s, I would go with the headphones, the WHs. And the reason for that is the noise cancellation in these is just a slight bit better, and I find that they're a little bit more comfortable. Now, if I was a traveling person, if I traveled a lot, you know, to commute to work, if I was on a bus or a train or something like that to get to work every day or to get to school or whatever else, I think I'd probably shy away from these and go towards more these, because they're so small, they can fit inside your pocket with these, and the noise cancellation is still definitely good enough to get you through, you know, your commute. If you're interested in checking out the WH-1000XM3s now, I'll have links to those either here or here, because I've done a ton of different tutorials and videos and stuff like that on those, so definitely check those out because they're definitely worth your time if you're interested in a pair of headphones. So guys, let me know what you think of the Sony WF-1000XM3s. They're definitely a pair of really interesting earphones, and if you're in the market for a pair of wireless, noise-canceling earbuds, these are probably the pick for you. So if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to support my channel, and as always, have a great day.